So Ted, we're here at the Guerra. Is that how it's pronounced? Is it?
The Gearagh,
Yeah.
or in Irish, Guerra.
Yeah.
It means it means a wooded river,
A wooded river.
or a flooded forest. It is the River Lee,
Yeah.
where it expands out onto a floodplain of about 1.5 kilometres wide. So the woodlands that arise in this ecosystem, if I can call it that, are alluvial.
Alluvial. Okay.
They're not sessile oak like we saw in St. Gobnet's Wood, sloping oak woods. They're not the yew woods of Killarney. So these would be another form of native woodland. But this is the largest alluvial forest, native alluvial forest in Western Europe.
In Western Europe?
Yes.
Okay, so a very significant site.
There's only one of 3 sites in the world of this dimension.
Okay.
It has got freshwater pearl mussel, freshwater sponge, and is a otter-rich habitat as well.
Okay, okay. And it's a flooded landscape, is it? That's an artificial. What are we looking at here? The water levels, are they natural or artificial?
In 1954,
Yeah.
the ESB, to initiate the hydroelectric scheme downriver at Gearagh,
In Ascara, yeah.
to generate electricity from the damming of the river, they clear-felled the forest here. It was an oak forest, common oak, common
oak. Okay.
not sessile, or you
Okay.
call it pedunculate.
Pedunculate oak. Okay.
This was a pedunculate woodland.
So all this area would have been covered with common oak.
Oh,
at that
many
point.
hundreds of acres all around us. But there are still 200 acres upriver as part of the Guerra at the back of Toon Bridge. Now, Ballingeary means the mouth of the Guerra.
Right.
Ballingeary is about 15 miles upriver, just near Barra, where the river rises. So that in its day, it is reckoned that the Guerra was 5,000 acres.
Wow. So very significant.
And continued in part through Ballincollig all the way to Cork. Cork was a Corcock, a marsh,
A marsh. Yeah.
which was the continuation, which was the natural attenuation of where there were alluvial woodlands. They usually, that river or watercourse entered the ocean through a Corcock, through a marsh.
Okay.
So the marsh of Cork is very much tied up or tied in with the Guerra here. It's a very important place for wildlife,
Okay.
because what you see here, apart from the clear fell of 1954 by the ESB, this is also a very special area. It has never been drained or canalised. Almost all Irish rivers have been straightened and canalised throughout the 18th century.
Yeah.
And through the Cromwellian period, they drained rivers, and what they call canalised rivers. This is post-glacially intact.
Okay.
Post-glacially intact. So its correct name is a post-glacial, residual, alluvial flooded forest.
Okay. And one of only 3 examples of such in the world, is that?
Yes, of this expanse. It's an SAC, a Special Area of Conservation, under the 1992 Habitats Directive, because it is the correct name for a swamp forest is the swamp forest.
Right.
So what's unique about the Guerra, or swamp forests in Ireland and in Britain, is the main canopy of the forest is alder, sally and ash.
Okay.
It's one of 4 priority SACs under the European Directive. Yew forest, bog woodland, alluvial flood forest, and juniper scrub, which we find in North Limerick around Askeaton. I would say this is a priority woodland because it is in danger of disappearance. It's the last great one. There's none in Britain, there's no other in Ireland, there's none in Spain, there's none in Germany, there's none in Scandinavia. The next one is in
Portugal, I think,
there may be a small one in Portugal, but the next one with freshwater pearl mussel and freshwater sponge and otter is in the Czech Republic.
And the Czech Republic. And when you say it's what are the threats to it? So
the biggest threat here is upstream development. County Hall in Cork, the planners have given an awful lot of planning permissions to hundreds of wind turbines.
Even though it's an SAC?
Even though it's an SAC, but also afforestation, deforestation, draining of the upland blanket bogs.
Right. Meaning
that this area is taking volumes of water never seen before. And we know that the Glucksman Gallery in UCC was flooded. Not because of the ESB and the dam at Inniscarra, I argue, because of the thousands of planning permissions all up the headlands of this river catchment and basin. The Salon, the Lona, the Farish.
Removing the natural floodplain as such. And
the draining of the rivers and the removal of hedgerows as well. When you take out a hedgerow, the water moves down much faster. So this Guerra should be able, it's a disaster prevention function system within a river system. That's how it's interpreted. But because further upriver there are hundreds of islands within the river, so an angry river is dispersed by all of these islands.
Yeah.
It's called anastomization. It's very, very rare, very unique. So that storm waters cannot overwhelm the ecosystem because the storm waters or flood waters are dispersed.
That takes the energy out of it.
Yes,
so
slows
it down
takes the rage out of. But in the last number of years, the volume of water coming down now, there's a little pub called Creedon's in Toonbridge, a little upriver. And a few years ago, the river came in the back door and out the front door. That never happened before.
Yeah.
So the wrong trees are being planted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sitka and lodgepole and larch, instead of either natural vegetation and natural pioneering succession species of sally, willow, gorse, leading on to holly, hazel and oak, or even to preserve the hedgerows would seriously reduce.
Start.
And then of course we're not even talking about climate change yet.
Yeah, yeah.
And the 14% that we hear from Maynooth's Professor John Sweeney, we can expect 14% more precipitation.
14% more.
14% more.
Which is a very significant increase.
We're not being sustainable. Sustainable development was defined by a man called Thomas Lovejoy, a very senior hydrogeologist in the Smithsonian Institute in 1989, 3 years before the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit.
The climate summit
they adopted Lovejoy's mathematics, and his mathematics were that sustainable development can be measured by whether there are impacts on the local biodiversity. Biodiversity and its health is a measure of local, regional or global sustainable development.